A very good evening, everyone, and we warmly welcome you all to the launch event of ReidXtreme 2021, organized by the Ieee student branch of University of Colombo School of Computing in collaboration with the ACM student chapter of University of Colombo School of Computing. I am Dushani Gamage, and I will be walking you through today's proceedings. So, as students of Ucsc, I'm sure that most of you are already aware about what IEEE is and how it functions. So let me just give you a brief introduction to it. IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, is the world's largest technical professional organization. IEEE and its members inspire a global community to innovate for a better tomorrow. So moving on to talk about the IEEE student branch of Ucsc, it is a pioneering student branch under the IEEE Sri Lanka section. And as you all may know, we have carried out so many events that facilitated the students to develop their technical, professional, and also social skills. Now, let us take a quick look through the past events we have conducted.
Welcome to IEEE student branch of Ucsc. 2021 has been quite a big year for us.
Welcome to the launch event of MadHack 2021.
MadHack, our flagship event, where we held 3 workshops on mobile applications development, followed by a hackathon space with 54 submissions.
After a 10-day development phase,
Team Remember My Meds
were crowned champions.
Bob Ucsc, the grand finale.
We, together with Ucsc in Colombo Central, conducted Revolve UX, a nationwide designathon. After 3 workshops, 74 submissions and a 2-hour final designathon.
Yes, we have 2 minutes to get the
Took home the grand prize.
Let's not forget 7 Lines of Code and Cloud Skill Challenge in collaboration with Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador.
Really interesting to witness all those events carried out by our student branch. And moving on to brief you about ACM and ACM student chapter of Ucsc, we have with us Tisari Gunawardana. Tisari, over to you.
Thank you, Dushani. So to give you all a brief overview of what ACM is, ACM stands for Association for Computing Machinery, and it is the world's largest scientific and educational computing society. ACM brings together computing educators, researchers, and professionals to inspire dialogue, share resources, and address the challenges in the computing field. ACM also supports the professional growth of its members by providing opportunities for lifelong learning, career development, and professional networking. Moving on to the ACM student chapter of Ucsc, we are a relatively new club founded in 2017 and have been making quite an impact on the fields of computing and technology. With the aim of brushing up the competitive programming skills of undergraduates, we have initiated CSC Sport Coders, a community of competitive programmers. We are also maintaining a Discord server for this community through which we give updates about upcoming CP competitions and have discussion rounds on those. I'll now share the Discord server link so that you all can join the server if you haven't. And as you all already know, and some of you here might have participated in, 8 Weeks of Code was also an initiative under UCSC Sport Coders. This contest included 8 rounds, where at the end of each round, a discussion was also carried out by the mentors. Going beyond undergraduates, we also have projects aiming at improving and uplifting CP among secondary school students, and one such project is the National Olympiad in Informatics. We also conduct a monthly meetup series where we have sessions on topics that would help you in your academic work and professional growth. And as the ACM student chapter, we are happy to join hands with the IEEE student branch. And all of you here can look forward to an exciting competition. And over to you, Dishan.
Thank you, Tisariaki, for that. And I'm sure that by now you all have a thorough understanding about the functions of IEEE and our student branch, and also ACM and our ACM student chapter. So now let me walk you through today's agenda. To start off with, we will be talking about IEEE Extreme. And we have in line a very interesting session by our very own keynote speaker for today. Then we will move on to ReidXtreme, and we wrap up things with a Q&A session for you. So getting started with today's proceedings, we have with us Dulaj Prabhashar, a second-year undergraduate who is also the coordinator of IEEE student branch, to talk to you about IEEE Extreme. Dulajaya, over to you.
All right, thank you, Dishani. So as we head towards the month of October, we are inching towards one of the most major events hosted by the IEEE, that is the IEEE Extreme. The IEEE Extreme is an annual global programming challenge. Teams made up of 3 IEEE student members across the globe compete against each other in this 24-hour hackathon by solving a set of problems. Just to give you an idea about the scale of how massive IEEE is, IEEE Extreme is being held for the 15th iteration, including 805 student branches across 62 countries and over 9,300 participants. IEEE Extreme provides a platform for anyone to engage in competitive programming by embracing teamwork, facing challenges, and a platform to truly push your skills to the extreme limit. All right, so last year we had 12 UCSC teams rank among the top 100 in Sri Lanka in IEEE Extreme. So as you can see, Team FKR-BK ranked 4th nationally and 90th globally. Also, we had 3 first-year teams that ranked among the top 100 in Sri Lanka as well. Right. So we also aim to do bigger and better this year around in IEEE Extreme. Okay, and back to you, Dishani.
Okay, Dulajaya, thank you so much for that. So now that you saw our very own performances of UCSC at IEEE Extreme, let's see how the assessing and the awarding criteria goes. So each team will be assigned with a proctor who will be supervising your teams, and the teams will be ranked according to your performance. And you'll also be eligible for valuable certificates and prizes. Looking at the prizes, the team which comes in first place will get a world tour to an IEEE conference in a country of their own choice. For each member in the teams that place as second and third, cash prizes of $400 and $300 are offered respectively. And not just the top 3 teams, not just the top 10 teams, all teams who would place as the top 100 teams will receive IEEE Extreme merchandise. Okay, so now that's pretty interesting, right? We are pretty sure now that you all have an idea about the proceedings of IEEE Extreme and also the importance of taking part in it. So let's have a look at how to register for IEEE Extreme. All right, so first of all, what you have to do is you will have to team up with 3 members. And then you will get a link to a form where you will have to select your year and also the team name. And once that is done, this form will be directed to our student branch and they will assign you with a proctor. So after submitting that, you will have to head on to the IEEE Extreme page website, which is this. Yeah, now that link will be shared in the chat right now. And then you have to head on to register. Yes. So, and I have to mention that the IEEE membership is mandatory to take part in IEEE Extreme. So once you go there, you will have to enter your credentials in the sign-in page. Yeah. So once that's done, you will have 2 options where you can register as the team and the proctor. So what you have to do is register as the teams. and then you will be directed to the page where you have to register. So first you will have to enter your team name, and your school will be auto-filled, and your country and your member number. And then here you can add the other two members. All right, so as I said, first you have to register through our form of Ucsc, and then there you will be assigned to a proctor, and proctor number should be mentioned here. And then you have to click submit, and it's just as simple as that. All right, so moving on with today's proceedings, we know we kept you waiting too long for this very special segment of the day. This is all to give you a better understanding about how to get into competitive programming and how to prepare ourselves for that. He is a fourth-year undergraduate of UCSC and was able to secure the global rank of 90 in Ieee Extreme 2020. Pushing the limits into taking part into global competitions, he was a contestant of International Olympiad in Informatics in 2015 and also 2017, and also holding the positions of Deputy Leader in 2018 and Team Leader by 2019. Also, this amazing individual is currently the co-founder and CEO of the AI team. We are also proud to mention that he is the chairperson of ACM Student Chapter UCSC. Apart from his technical and leadership skills, he is an active member in the University of Colombo rowing team and also got his passion for music. So I would like to invite Pasindu Vijay Sena, our keynote speaker for today, who will be sharing his experiences with us. Over to you, Pasindu Ayya.
Thank you, Dishani. Okay, so let me share my screen. Dishani, I think I need permission to share the screen.
Okay, give us a second, Ayya.
Sure. Okay, it's good now.
Okay.
Okay, so can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, right. Okay, so hello. What are you guys doing? I haven't seen you personally because of the situation we are right now, but I hope you are doing well. So let's move into the contents of today's small session. So to start off, let me move this. Okay, I have a question. So what happens when you press Control plus F, that is find the shortcut for find operation in a text editor, and enter some query text? So usually it's going to highlight where the occurrences of that text is appearing on your text. And so almost all the text editors have this feature, right? So if you have tried like opening really huge files, let's say 1 megabyte or something bigger than that, and try to do the same operation, that is to try and search for a query, then depending on the text editor, you will see they have really different, like they react really differently. Some editors, they just stuck for a while and then they show the results, and some editors, they handle the situation really well, right? So and since you all are in this computing arena, someday you might also have to build something similar to this. Maybe it's not a text editor, but maybe you have to find something on a really large corpus. So when you're implementing a solution for that problem, the way that you approach it, the things that you think about when implementing it is going to affect how the end product is going to look, right? How performant it is going to be, how memory hungry it's going to be. It is all going to depend on how you solve the problem on your hand. So I have another question. So if you have used this app called Shazam, so it's an application where like you can press this Shazam button, and then it's going to listen to your background, and if there's any song played in your background, then it's going to identify it. So have you thought how this thing works? So this is similar to that text editor scenario, but this is much more complex now. Instead of a text query, what you are getting is the background audio, right? And there is the song playing in some position, and people are going to be talking. There's going to be background noise, all the stuff there. And after you filter out the song in the query, then you have millions and millions of songs to query against. So in the previous example, I mentioned about opening a text file with 1 MB size, 1 megabyte. But here in this case, like for Shazam, it's millions of songs that they are querying through, right? And they are really fast. They are not going to get stuck, right? So one day, one of you or a few of you might be building applications like this. So when you're building things like this, the solutions are not going to be straightforward, right? You can't just see the problem and then start coding. You need to think of really creative solutions before you begin to write a single line of code. You need to think. So I have a few more examples. I'll go through them as well. So this is a typical scenario that you will face if you come to like these big buildings in Colombo. So they have a lot of elevators, and some buildings, they are really good, but in some buildings you need to wait a long time to get an elevator and go to the place that you want, right? So, and when building these elevators, you need to build an algorithm into them. And it's like in this kind of a scenario, there are going to be multiple elevators and multiple floors and multiple requests coming from people. So if you were to write a program to schedule the operation, like tell the elevator what's the next destination, where to go next, the answer to that problem, you can't just think in a second or a minute. I don't think even in an hour you can easily come up with a solution without really critically assessing the problem, right? And another interesting one, this one. So have you wondered how people like these containers, people who operate these machines in these harbors, how do they place these container boxes? Because when you take a ship, it's not going from point A to point B. Like it's not going from one country to another country. It's going in a route, right? It's going to visit many countries, and within those visits, it's going to drop some container boxes and then load some container boxes. And also while doing so, this ship has to maintain its balance. So the container boxes, they are not going to weigh the same, right? Something might be 100 kilos, something would be 1,000. It's going to vary. And when if you see here, it's not just a 2D grid, it's a 3D thing, right? And if you were going to lift a container box with this machine, if you like, you can't just get something from the middle. You need to start from the top. So and some people had to write a program to help these people to position these container boxes, right? So these kind of problems, practical problems, they exist in the real world, right? So at the university, we don't usually see how like where we can use the knowledge we learn about data structures and algorithms. We don't usually see a place where we can use. But when you think about the practical world, there are a lot of edge cases, like special scenarios where you need to think of really creative solutions to build good systems. And if you like this kind of problems, if you like solving this kind of problems, if you are intrigued by these problems, you're going to love competitive programming. Because competitive programming is solving similar kind of problems in a limited time and with predefined constraints. So you're going to see maybe problems that are easier than the ones I mentioned, maybe ones that are really harder than the ones I mentioned, and you're going to have to write solutions. You have to think of a solution, then build it within the limited time. So in this scenario, if we talk about IEEE Extreme, we get you just get 24 hours and you get multiple problems. You need to build up really creative solutions and scope. And the problems come with predefined constraints. So that is like if we go to this container scenario, if this was to come in a competitive programming competition like IEEE Extreme, they would tell you like what's the maximum number of containers you can have, and what's the maximum height, width, the breadth is going to be, and the route, how long the route would be. So the problem is going to specify the constraints, and when you are building the solutions, they are going to constrain you to a smaller environment where you can actually think of a solution. Because like when you get an unbounded problem, you usually can't come up with a solution straight away for a problem like this, even in practical scenarios. And like as you would learn in the future, like third year, fourth year, you will see there's a lot of like when solving practical problems, we enforce constraints onto them because we can't solve the open-ended ones. So in a competitive programming competition, you usually get a limited time and the constraints. So constraints would not just be in the numbers. They might mention you, okay, your program could run for a maximum of 2 seconds, and the memory consumption should be 1 gigabyte max, so etc. So with those constraints, you need to create make creative solutions. So that is actually that's the introduction I have for competitive programming. And when you like think about what people do in terms of competitive programming, like what are there, what things are there, there's a lot of there are a lot of platforms out there where you can both practice as well as compete in competitions, competitive programming competitions. So these are only a few. So I think most of you would be already familiar with HackerRank, and Codeforces is another really popular one. And then there's AdCoder, CodeChef, TopCoder, CS Academy, WCIPEG. There's a lot of platforms out there. So these platforms, they some of them they host competitions, and some of them they host practice problems for people like you to try out and learn. So there's a lot of platforms. If you are already interested in competitive programming, you can just go to one of these things and start learning, start practicing. And talking about the big competitions, so here I have listed some really big international competitions that are there out there in this competitive programming arena. So first we have like 3 competitions organized by Google. So every year they have CodeJam, Kickstart, and Hashcode. So Kickstart is a monthly competition. I think they have around 10 competitions every year. And Hashcode, it's a once a year, and CodeJam the same. And then by Facebook, we have this competition called the Hacker Cup. It's a competitive programming competition. And so the competitions by Facebook and Google, they are open competitions. So that is like anyone could take part in those competitions. So undergraduates, graduates, high school students, everyone could participate. And then we have this International Olympiad in Informatics. It's a competition for high school students. And then on the middle, we have IEEE Extreme and ACM ICPC. So these 2 are competitions targeted for undergraduates. So, and right now you are preparing for this IEEE Extreme competition, which is another competitive programming competition. So there is a lot of international competitions out there. And from the outside world, a lot of people from the CS domain are competing in these competitions. And so it's just like an invitation for you guys as well. So other people from other countries, they are competing. So we can go ahead and compete with them. And so competing at competitive programming competitions, what are the benefits of competing in them? So initially I told you that if you like solving problems, you're going to love this, because you're going to get the chance to solve interesting problems at competitive programming competitions. And the next one is like, since these competitions, these ones as well as the competitions organized by these platforms, since they are international, you get to gauge your talent against the other people out there in the world, right? So you can like rank yourself from in an international perspective, rather than like thinking from your local community, maybe the university, maybe Sri Lanka. But you don't have to be limited to that scope. You could just think about the whole world and see where you stand. And other than that, so the main thing you get out of participating at competitive programming competitions and doing these problems is you become a better problem solver. So by this, what I mean is that when you constantly try to solve these problems, and whenever you are confronted with typical day-to-day programming activities, let's say like you work somewhere and now you are given a problem to solve, the way you look at that problem is going to be really different from the perspective of a person who's not into competitive programming, who has no experience in competitive programming. How they approach the problem is going to be really different from the way that you approach the problem. Because when a person who has some experience in competitive programming approaches a problem, they think about these different like concepts, like the memory complexity, the time complexity, how fast we are going to solve, all sorts of things. So uh, overall you become a better problem solver. So like whatever you do, if you during your university time, if you take part in these competitive programming competitions, it's going to lay a really good, a solid foundation into your thinking process, which is going to help you throughout your career in the future. And the next one is, if you are really good, I'm talking like if you can be in the top 200 at Code Jam, or if you are at the top 100 at Facebook Hacker Cup, or if you are like scoring really high at Hashcode, these companies, they are going to invite you in the sense they are human resource people. They are going to send you emails asking, hey, we have some job opportunities, would you like to apply for them? So those companies are going to reach out to you instead of you reaching out to them. So that's one big benefit as well. If you are really good, that's a really that's one advantage. And the other thing is, you can put it on the CV. So if you really like, let's say you are some averagely good person, and you take part in Ieee competitions 1 or 2 years during university, and when you are applying for an internship, or when you are going to the industry, when you are starting to work, you can put your achievements at these competitive programming competitions on your CV. So it's going to let the recruiters know that you have some experience trying to solve problems. You know about these things, you have some knowledge about algorithms and data structures, these things. So it's going to help out with that sense as well. And finally, it's the one I initially mentioned. So it's, if you like solving problems, it's fun and it's going to keep your brain busy, right? So instead of like some of you might have this experience, like after you are done with your advanced level examinations and you stay without, if you stay without doing anything, you like, it's like you are getting dumber every day. So if you compete in these kind of competitions, your normal is going to be like attending to lectures and doing the regular assignments, projects, those things. And your fun, like engaging activity is going to be taking part in these competitions. And it's going to keep your brain busy, and it's going to keep it active, and it feels good personally. So these are the benefits I personally believe that you can get from competing at competitive programming competitions. And even if you don't compete in competitive programming competitions, if you practice these problems, if you go into those platforms and do them regularly, you will gain these benefits. And finally, let's talk about Ieee Extreme. So this is like a combination of some advice I thought of giving you, and the general things about Ieee Extreme. So first one is you are going to get 24 hours, and they are going to give around 24 tasks to solve. So it's not really easy. It's not a really easy process. You need to keep up for the whole 24 hours. And when solving these problems, one thing that you need to note is there are no time bonuses. That is, if you get stuck in some sort of a problem when you are at Ieee Extreme, don't waste too much time on that problem. Move on to the next one and then come back later, because at Ieee Extreme they are not going to give time bonuses. So it doesn't matter whether you solve a problem as the first person to solve it or as the last person to solve it. They are giving the scores based on the total number of people who have solved the problem. So if you succeed at solving some problems where not many people have solved, it's going to give you more marks. So whenever you feel stuck in a problem, don't feel bad, just skip ahead and try another problem. Maybe even trying that one, you will get some insights on how to tackle the previous one. And the tasks, they are these around 24 tasks, they are released gradually. So like I mentioned before, this is not going to be really easy, because for the whole 24 hours you need to keep up, because like every hour or so they are going to release a new task and people are going to attempt. And if you don't attempt, the backlog is going to get bigger. And if you don't keep working till the end, you are not going to see the last questions. So you need to have some stamina. Like you could probably like do some practice tasks, not 24 hours, but you could do like 2 hour contests as preparation to Ieee Extreme. And then one of the major things is, when you want to improve your score, the test cases at Ieee Extreme, they are not really perfect. So if you consider like those big competitions like this, Code Jam, Kickstart, Hashcode, HackerCup, IOI, ICPC, those things, they are really hard as in like they require you to implement the exact right solution, or otherwise you are not going to get scores at all. But with Ieee Extreme, the situation is different, because they are going to give scores for the based on the individual test cases that you solve, and those test cases are not really like well thought out test cases most of the time, right? So they try to put some edge cases and some general cases, but they are not covering the whole field right there. So when you want to collect some scores, like maybe like you're missing 1 or 2 points to get one rank up, then like you just have to try to solve for individual test cases, like do small optimizations and try to score more. And this statement is really true at Ieee Extreme, because if you are a fairly good competitive, like if you have some experience, you usually can identify what kind of a solution the problem setter is expecting as soon as you read the input constraints. Like when you read that the maximum number of inputs n is something like 10 to the power 9, or you know that the solution needs to be at least order of n, something like that. So since at IEEE the test cases are not perfect, don't give a big thought on those exact constraints, because even if you don't write a really good solution, an optimum solution, that is, if you write a crappy solution, some put together solution, you're probably going to be able to score some marks. So just submit and see. So if you are out of ideas and you have some ideas for a crappy solution, maybe a brute force solution, just try it, because of this test cases not being perfect. Like if you are targeting to get higher up in the leaderboard, it's doable. And other tip is like it's going to be really tiring towards the end. Like let's say 20 hours into the contest, you are going to think like, oh no, why the last 4 hours are not ticking? Like, since they are going to keep pushing more and more problems, you just want the contest to end, right? Because then only you can secure whatever the position that you kept before. So because of this tiring situation, you need to get a really good sleep in the previous day, right? So make sure that you don't do you sleep well on the previous day, and have some coffee or energy drinks or whatever that keeps you awake, ready with you, closer with you, if you are going serious on this competition. So keep a note on that. And another thing is like these 24 hours are harder than competing at a 24-hour hackathon, because at hackathons you can, like, at the last few hours you are usually going to be preparing your presentations, your pitch decks, or whatever it is, the business stuff. But here they are going to be giving problems and you need to use your brain. So if you are sleepy, it's not going to work. So make sure that you prepare for this 24-hour aspect, because it's pushing 24 hours is going to be hard, so you need to be prepared, right? And how to prepare? So you have around a month for IEEE Extreme. The first thing is you need to practice as in considering the time that you have for IEEE Extreme. I think that you should be able to, like, if you want to rank, get a good rank, let's say like top 10, top 20, something like that, you need to start doing questions, maybe at least one question per day, and try to do different kinds of questions. Put around 2 hours a day, or at least 1 hour. Since you are new into this, most of you are new into this, put some time into the practicing, and then practice. And the other thing is watch how other people approach the problem. So I have put up a link here, so you don't have to copy the whole link, you can just search for this name, Ericto. So this person is a competitive programmer, he's a really good one at it, and he's doing a lot of questions, and he explains how to approach those problems. And there are many YouTubers like this one, this is just a single person. So how you need to see how other people, how good competitive programmers approach these problems. So set some time to watch those videos. And the other one is read other people's code. This is going to help you to write better code. Better code as in the competitive programming environment, you have constraints, right? You have a small time frame to write your solutions. So you need to see what neat tricks that other people are using in common situations. So those neat tricks, coding tricks, those tricks you can only learn by reading code of other people. So if you practice using a platform like Codeforces, one of the major advantages of Codeforces is that they allow you to see the code of other people once the contest is over. So this is a really good one. Like whenever you are practicing as well, after you after you do a practice contest, go ahead and read source codes of solutions written by other people, like 1 or 2 source code files, and see how they have approached, what things that they use that you are not using. Those things you can figure out by reading those code. And finally, read editorials. So when you are practicing, sometimes you run into hard problems, and you could end up not being able to solve them. So in such situations, since now you only have around a month to practice, don't waste too much time trying to solve a single problem. By too much time I mean, like, don't try for like 2 or 3 days to solve the same small problem, small or large, because find the editorial and read it, how that problem could be approached. Because when you read this, you are like, whenever you see a similar kind of a problem, you are going to be able to like map a solution into that new problem using the knowledge that you have from the earlier like reading the editorials. So like I mentioned before, there are a lot of platforms. I personally recommend using Codeforces and AdCoder. So the platform is actually your choice. Just try a bunch of them and see what you like, and then keep practicing using that one. So these two are the ones that I use and I recommend. Codeforces and AdCoder, they're the ones that I use. I do recommend HackerRank. So keep practicing, and good luck. So now we have some time for questions, right, San?
Yes, Saya. So
Okay.
if anyone has any questions, you can directly. Yeah.
Right. So before moving on to the next part in the agenda, if you guys have any questions, if I missed anything, please ask. සිංහලෙන් ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් ඕනෙන් අහන්න. Okay, I think we are good. So thank you very much. So back to you, Dushani.
Okay, so if you are intrigued to solve interesting real-world problems, competitive programming is just for you. Lifting up our curiosity to enlightening us with valuable information. Thank you very much for that insightful session. And I hope you were all able to learn a lot about competitive programming, how to prepare for it, its importance, and also its benefits. So thank you once again, Pasindu. Now that you heard a lot about competitive programming and also Ieee Extreme, we are ready to engage in a fun game. So without further ado, let's move on to the Kahoot session we have organized just for our enthusiastic audience. Over to you, Dulajaya and Ashanaya.
Hey. Let's see. You have the link in the chat, I think. The pin is there as well.
Pin is also there. Participants la Sasuke Add coder.
Okay, we have 8, 9. Come on, guys, let's all join fast. Ashan, Ashan, remember? Shall I give it again? Variations at the end.
Hungry is there.
Martin, not. And then in because we can wait for around 2 more minutes maybe. Okay. Let's get to 50, 55. Let's start. All right, we can start now. We have 50, right? That's it. Ashan. All right.
Shall we start?
Let's start, right? Okay, cool.
Okay. Which iteration of Ieee Extreme will happen next month?
We make Qna, Ashan.
Session එක අහන්න හිටියනම් ලේසියෙන් උත්තර දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Yep.
බුලත්ම තමයි කිව්වේ.
Yes. Okay, we are getting answers. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Bit low. I was expecting everyone to get it, but okay. And if you're participating this time around, I think it's important to know that it is the 15th iteration of Ieee Extreme. Again, I think may problematic with it, but it's important to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. How many programming languages are approximately present in the world today? Okay, let's see. Ashan, क्या किसका दिया?
කමාරුයි. මෙන්න දින
පනහක්
අඩුවෙන්
විතර?
වඩා අඩුවෙන් යූස් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. නෑ 50ක් දැක්කලවත් නෑ මම.
නම් කීපයකින් තියෙන languages. ඔයාලා දන්න ඇති ගොඩක් ඒවා. But let's see. Total ටිකක් තියෙනවා. Right. So there's 700. That's a lot we know. And ගොඩක් ඒවා ජීවිත කාලයට අහන්නවත් නැතුව ඇති ඉස්සරහට, but it's important to know the number at least when you're doing this stuff. The options available to you. Yeah. All right. Let's see who's on top. Saneru is second, Rangi is first, Ashan is third, Asan is fifth.
IEEE එකේ ගිය පාර ප්‍රොබ්ලම්ස් බලුවා නම් අහලා නැති ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑමින් ලැන්ග්වේජ් එකක් දැනගන්න පුළුවන් ගොඩක් අයට.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Okay.
What is the world's most popular programming language? මේක ලේසි.
Oh, I mean, popular anything, but use කරන එක නෙමෙයි.
එයාලා අතර popular එක බලුවා. උත්තරේ හරියයි. හැබැයි යාලා කැමති නැතුනට Java වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් ගොඩක්.
Yeah, hey, Tesla in no gitu kan. Tapi atar. Python, obviously, yes.
Visual Basic gak pengen lebih.
Saneru and Ashan close, and Asan.
Ashan and Asan.
The Ashan family. Okay, who was the world's first programmer? All right. So this person was not with us for long, died at the age of 36. But when this person was alive, they made a huge contribution towards computing in general. So this person, I think, most of you should know her. I messed up that, but okay.
Textbook ko lang matipang mga ito. Kami game.
Nice. Kodak ka doon na okay. Tigak sa Sasha. Next
I
question.
don't have anything in my hand. The term bug used in programming has no context for its origin. Is it true or false?
ඒ කියන්නේ පොඩි කතාවක් තියෙනවා අපිට කියන්න. දැම්ම නොකිය.
Text එක තියනවද උඩ context එක?
නෑ වගේ. Okay. Ashantamuda. What was the world's first programming language? It's not technically the first we're asking, it's what was invented first out of these four?
Obviously not the word first.
Yeah. Ada Lovelace actually invented the first language.
කිව්ව විදිහට අපි දැන් ඇඩා කෝඩ් කරපු language එක තමයි word first වෙන්නේ.
Yeah.
එතන ඒක නෑ. අපි බලමු මෙතන තියෙන වගේ මුලින්ම ආපු එක.
Proctor. ඔයාලට දන්නාගේ. ඔයාලා UCSC එකට එද්දිම orientation එකක් තියෙනවා. So ඒකෙදී කියනවා මේ අපි ඉස්සර කොහොමද UCSC කෝඩ් කරේ කියලා. එතන මේ languages අහුවෙනවා Fortran and COBOL. So දැනටමත් UCSC museum එක තියෙනවා. So ඒකෙන් දැනගන්න පුළුවන් ඒ වගේ විස්තර. All right. Let's move on. And see the leaderboard. Okay, someone is sharing here. Share. Okay. Let's move on.
The people who invented the languages Python, C++, and Java, respectively, are.
So with Akka languages, we have like 700, right? So people invent languages for different reasons. Some allow some allow like to make balls easier, or to make machines like robots and stuff, or to just make programming easy in general, like Python. So now these three are like very common languages. So we're asking you who invented each. All right. So Guido van Rosen, Python, C++, Sauerstrup, and James Gosling invented Java. So yeah, important to know the three of the most popular languages that we have. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. The language C was named so because you have some interesting answers there, really.
පළවෙනි එක නම් පොඩ්ඩක් ගැලපෙනවා වගේ.
වගේ තමයි. මම ඩබල් OP නම් දන්නවා. ෆන්ක්ෂනල් කියලා එකක් දන්නවා. All right, most of you know it. Okay, so there's a whole family of C languages actually, like C++, C#, Objective-C, all that, and Swift as well. So important to know that.
එක ළඟ ඉන්නේ.
Okay, Sanilu, up to you. All
Which
right,
of the following
last
is
question.
not a programming language? මේක නම් ගොඩක් අය දැනගන්න ඕන. මොකද programming language එකක් කියන්නේ අපි මොන logical දෙයක් code කරද්දි පාවිච්චි කරන language එක. එතකොට මෙතන තියෙන language වලින් ඔයාලා පාවිච්චි කරලා තියෙන ඒවා ගැන හිතුවොත් මම හිතන්නේ උත්තර ගන්න ලේසි.
ඔව්. ඒක කෙනෙක් ටිකක් ඉම්පෝස්ටික් නැත්නම්. All right. ගොඩක් අය දන්නවා වගේ. Nice to see.
Markup language එක.
Okay.
කවුද අපේ winner?
At third place, we have Asha. Congrats. Second year, Asha.
Samir. Congratulations.
Nice, Malvi. Good job, guys. And congrats, Asha. Okay. Hope you're the same, Asha. But anyways, all right. That's it for the Kahoot.
Asha.
Thanks, guys, for participating, and back to you, Disha.
Okay. Back to you, Disha.
All right, so thank you for conducting that exciting and fun-filled Kahoot session. And it's also amazing to witness enthusiastic participation of the audience. All right, so moving on, we know what you all are really here for. ReidXtreme 2021. This is organized with the objective to be an emulation for Ieee Extreme for our own UCSC students, and they can get a good practice for Ieee Extreme through this. Further brief you about it, Jaya, the space is yours.
All right, I'm back here again. So ReidXtreme is a 24-hour programming competition, and it comprises of 3 member teams competing for, yeah, like we can see here, 24 hours exactly. And following today's launch event, 2 workshops will be held to provide you with knowledge on how to prepare for this competition. And then we will initiate the final hackathon on the 16th at 5 a.m. All right, so it's just like Ieee Extreme, to be honest. Back to you, Dishan.
And guys, that's not all. We have exciting prizes for all the winners of ReidXtreme. Members of the team who will be placing first will be awarded with valuable Ieee membership. The second and third places will be awarded with cash prizes. Also, guys, even if you will not be able to place as the teams, you will be earning badges for each milestone that you reach in this competition. And also, if I were to add something, we will be raising the bar on the certification criteria. You will have to earn a minimum of 500 points, and you will be eligible for a certificate of participation too. So now we encourage all the students of UCSC to register for ReidXtreme and also to test your skills. Yeah, so now that you are enthusiastic about it, let's see how to actually register for ReidXtreme. Yeah, so the website for ReidXtreme will be now dropped in the chat. You can go there and you have all the information about ReidXtreme on the website. Yeah, you can see the information about the prizes, the badges, the timeline, and then you have to head on to register. So the first thing you have to do is team up with 3 members. And also then you have to enter your team details. And I have to specially mention that the team name should be in the convention RX and then underscore and then your team name. And also I have to mention that you will have to create a separate HackerRank handle for your team. And that HackerRank handle should be used for the registration. And then you have to enter the details of your team leader and then the 2 other members, and then you have to submit it. And that's easy as that. Okay, so moving on, that's all for the registration process of ReidXtreme. So today we have one of the teams who were at the top teams of ReidXtreme 2020 held last year. Team IDK, this space is yours.
Okay, so thank you, Dushani. So earlier in Vasanthvaya's keynote, you guys got a great insight into competitive programming. He mentioned benefits and your path of improving your skills. And we also thought of sharing our experience that we had in ReidXtreme as well as Ieee Extreme with a beginner's perspective. So before moving forward, let me introduce our team. I'm Devin Disanayaka, and I have two other members in my team.
Kasun Mendes.
And I am Mr. Nishad. So there are two reasons why we came today. So the first reason is basically Dulaj forced us to come and do this. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is because we want to give you guys the experience that we had. And before moving on, I have to highlight one thing. That is we us three never had a prior CP experience before we participated in the ReidXtreme. So that's one thing that we want to highlight before moving on. So Kasun.
And first, you guys have to form a team before participating. So we formed a team because we three knew before university. So I contacted Isuru and Devin and we formed a team. And when forming a team, don't really search for the best coder in your batch or something like that. Just find people who are passionate about problem solving or who are willing to do computer programming. Or even if your friends are not really into it, try to convince them and get them to join, because you really don't have anything to lose here. And
you don't have anything to lose, but you have more to gain. So it's no harm of doing this participating in this competition. So we suggest you to participate. So there are a lot of things that you guys can learn in this. So yeah.
And what we gained in this ReidXtreme was we didn't have prior knowledge, as you guys as we said before. So we only knew C language when we first participated in it. Last ReidXtreme first stage, we went with C. Then C is not a good option to do computer programming. We learned that in the first stage. So we did experiments and we slowly transitioned towards C++ and Python. And
adding to that, the reason why we picked C was in the first semester we had C you guys. So that's why we picked C. And we didn't know that C is not a good language to go with, but we knew C because of that. But so we went with it. We didn't know anything about CP and all. So just we went with C. And we knew that after ReidXtreme, we knew that we have to find a better programming language for CP. So yeah.
Just to add and make things clear that last time we had 3 stages in ReidXtreme. So in the beginning, none of us had any experience in competitive programming. We just knew because that we had in our course module. So we just went with it. We didn't worry that we don't know any other languages. So in the first phase, we just coded using C. But at the end of the first phase, we realized that we need a switch, because if we consider some things like string operations, it's very hard to do them using C. So after doing some search, we realized that most popular languages for competitive programming were C++ and Python. So in later stages, I mean the second and third stages, we used C++ and Python interchangeably. Yeah, Kasun?
Then we figure out our go-to languages basically. So Devin likes to go with C++, Isuru likes to go with Python. I don't mind both basically. So yeah.
So adding to that, the reason that you guys have to participate in a ReidXtreme or any other competition is you have to find your go-to language. Like Kasun said, my go-to language is Python. I don't really like C++ syntax and all, but the Python syntax are really easy. So it's really easy to learn as well, within a day. So you have to find your go-to language. Then after you found it, then you can go with that language. You can use that language for any competition. So first you have to find that your go-to language.
And this will be your first experience if you haven't done CP. And so with this, you can also understand the, like when you form the team, you can really bond with the team. I mean, B3 bonded over IEEE ReidXtreme as well. And you can understand the team vibe. And when forming the team, if you can find people around your area, so you guys can like get together and do the competition at someone's home and something like that.
Yeah, I into that like in the first stage of ReidXtreme, like I had a power cut, so there's no way for me to do coding. So I actually called Kasun and I was like, I have a power cut, and also he was like, come over to my house. Then we called Devin, and like he was also near our area, so he also came to Kasun's house. After that, like V3 like did the competition there, so it was really fun as well. And one more thing, like you have to, it's not all about coding, like you have to have fun as well. So like Kasun, would you like to
yeah, so like when things are getting hard, like nothing's coming to your head or everything, like we played a game of Valorant. It's not recommended, but we played some Valorant and stuff.
Yeah.
Because we need to get our head out of the rut we were in. Yeah, basically that.
Adding to that, just try to make things fun, because that we all know that because of this pandemic situation, earlier most of the hackathons, not only competitive programming hackathons, they were physically held at university premises. But because of this, we are missing that opportunity. But we were lucky that we were able to gather around and have somewhat fun like that. But just make it fun and have a good time, because if not, you'll be missing a great experience that you can have in your university life. So,
yeah, like I have to say, tell one thing as well, like you may not be able, like if this is your first experience like of competitive programming, then you might not be able to do all the questions. Like even I couldn't do all the questions. So like yeah, so when that happens, like don't get like demotivated and all. Like take a break, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or listen to a song and all. Like clear your head and rethink that again. And if you like even still you can't figure it out, then ask your teammates. They probably have a better idea than yours.
Yeah, try to explain the question to your team members. Yeah. Like explaining it out loud may give you some ideas, and your teammates can put in their 2 cents into the question, and then you can formulate idea. Like that's where the teamwork comes in. I mean, 3 of you won't be attempting a single question. All 3 of you will be attempting 3 questions, but you are stuck somewhere. You can technically talk with the team to get a better idea of the question.
Yeah. So
yeah,
like,
if I'm highlighting a point that Pasanthu brought up, that you can just switch questions, because sometimes that if you are when you're reading the statement, maybe you are missing some parts, and maybe some of by the time you'll realize that some of your team members are really good at some type of problems. So because of that, you can try switching the problems, or maybe explaining and where you got stuck. And yeah, that's where teamwork comes in. And Suru?
And yeah, one last thing is like in IEEE Extreme, the questions are like relatively harder than ReidXtreme. Like when we did ReidXtreme, like we were able to like do like most of the questions, I guess, as I remember. But when it comes to like IEEE Extreme, like it was really hard. And like we couldn't even do all the questions. So yeah. So
yeah. So because of that, you have to keep in mind, in last time there was a kind of a difference. So when you get hard questions, and if you get stuck in those, don't get this, because by the time when you are keep coding, you know more solutions, and you know your ways out of those questions. So if I just sum up all the things that we brought up here, to get a start, you just don't need significant knowledge related to CP, because at the time we were starting, we were just like you. We just knew C, know any other languages, but by the time we realized that we need some more languages, and we just found our way. Likewise, you guys can improve your coding skills by keep coding consistently. you don't need a significant knowledge to get a start for that. And most importantly, don't get disheartened when you got stuck in hard questions, because every question give you more experience and more knowledge about solving questions that may be helpful in solving questions in the future. So guys,
adding to that, if you don't have any idea of what is competitive programming and all, it would be better if you participate in ReidXtreme to get a clear idea about it. Even when I participated for the ReidXtreme, I didn't know anything about CPU or anything. After finishing ReidXtreme, then I know what is CP and everything. So I knew what languages do I need, what data structures do I need. I got the clear idea of it. So if you do not know if you do not have any idea about CP, then you have to participate in ReidXtreme to get an idea.
It's going to be a very good experience for you guys.
Yeah, you can improve your algorithmic knowledge and the implementation of data structures just by practicing. You can't just by reading, you can't improve that a lot. But practice makes you perfect. So keep practicing and moving forward. So guys, I think we mentioned all the points that we planned.
Yeah.
Okay, so wrapping up, thank you all for having us here, and we hope you got something out of this. And if you have any questions, then you can ask them, I think, in the next section. And wish you all the best.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck, guys.
Okay, over to you, Dishani.
All right. So thank you, Team IDK, for that experience session. Also from your first year, and how ReidXtreme actually immensely helped you in IEEE Extreme. So that was really interesting, I have to say that. And hope everyone got a clear idea about the proceedings. And as they mentioned, take up the chance and also remember to have fun. Okay. So before we wrap up the event today, we have a small Q&A session for all of you. So if you have any doubts or anything to be clarified, now is the time to direct your questions to us through the Jamboard that will be shared now. All right, so you can direct any questions that you have to us. While they direct the questions, I have one question in my mind prepared. So what I was thinking is, after listening to all these, as first years and especially as Ieee students, how much of a content that we should know of? And if you are willing to self-learn, what are the resources that we have? So what about that?
Devin, shall I start? Or?
You can go.
All right. So Dishani, so one important thing about being a university student in general is self-learning, right? Because you weren't taught everything, everything that there is when you study for your academic stuff. So for example, so if we just take the IES and CS students, right? So CS students, we suck at web dev. In our first year, we don't have it at all. The IES students do, right? In the same way, we have data structures and algorithms. The IES students do not, not as much as we do. So there's a difference. So both of us have to self-learn in some way or another, right? So when it comes to self-learning, there's a lot of tutorials and on stuff like YouTube, and then you can practice questions on these sites. They don't charge you anything to practice, right? Or get good at stuff. So use that benefit. And there are books as well, like what we shared, the Computer Programmer's Handbook, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I have to say, guys. Anything to add?
Yeah, basically that most, as I know, most of the IES students think that because they had more less content in data structures, and they think that they don't require to go into more harder problems when solving them, they get discouraged. But problem solving, I think Pasdaya mentioned this very clearly. Problem solving is not only for our learning. Learning mean not only for our academics, that it improves the way we think and make a good layer of our thinking pattern, that we can address questions that we face in our day-to-day life. And when we are in the industry, it will be a very good experience for you. For take a start for IES students, I think that this will be a good platform because they can know what are the questions and how they look like and what are the approaches that you can follow to solve them. So I think by practicing you will get realized, and as far as I know, in our batch there are students that do coding. Some of them are better than us. So that's not limited to CS. All of us can do CP in a very good level.
Yeah, and as far as I know, it was a first year, like among the first years at least last year, it was an IS batch that scored the highest in IEEE Extreme Sri Lanka rankings.
Yeah, from first years it was IS group.
Yeah, so I think that's the inspiration for all of us. So guys, don't hold back. So register for that. And also we mentioned that anyone in UCSC can register for ReidXtreme. So that's true. So if we are to participate for IEEE Extreme, we will have to have the membership of IEEE. So other than participating for IEEE Extreme, what are the other benefits we would have?
IEEE membership, right, Dishani? So the IEEE membership gives you access to various research material, definitely, that's available, that helps you for stuff like reports that you have to do. Like, I mean, we've had it like almost every semester. So you guys will do, I mean, everyone here will. There are first and second years, all of them are here. So there's like helpful stuff in the IEEE that you can, use if that's something you're into. But also, so now in February, come February, we have selections for national events hosted by the IEEE Sri Lanka section, that is like INSL, Techno Meetup and stuff like that. So to apply, when you apply for those, like you are highly favored if you are someone with an IEEE membership, right? That advantage is also there. That is the IEEE side of things here.
All right, so this is one question that I expected from the audience. Actually, I think Team IDK already answered that question, but let's go on. Which programming language, I think, would you use? Oh, I think it's, would you recommend? Yeah. Someone who's just starting CP.
Yeah, this is a very common question. Isru, do you want to go?
Yeah, if you asked me that question, I would say Python, because it's really easy to learn for a beginner. Like even before coming to uni, like I did a Python course back then. So like for a newbie, I recommend Python, but that answer would vary from person to person. So yeah, like.
I want to add something. Earlier that we mentioned that in the first phase of last ReidXtreme that we also used C because it was in our course module. But we also had a switch. Then what we felt when switching that we some of us switched to C++ and some of us to Python. For a beginner who doesn't know any language, Python is very good. It will be very easy because its syntax is very simple to get to know. And if you know C, then C and C++, the syntaxes are more similar. So if you already know C, I think most of you are, because you guys also learned that. Switching to C++ also easy because the syntax is similar. So likewise that I recommend both. I think Kasun recommend both, right?
Yeah, like basically experiment. That's what ReidXtreme is for.
Yeah. Still, if most of the time I use C++, there are some times that I also feels like going with Python because for some operations that Python is really easy. Yeah, as Kasun mentioned, give it a try and you will see.
Yeah, adding to that, like right now I know both C++ and Python, but I still prefer Python. Like I said in the previous session, like you have to find your go-to language. So yeah, experiment.
All right, so ReidXtreme would be like the perfect chance for you to find out your go-to language if you're like starting new. So we have another question. I think because we mentioned that this is a 24-hour competition. The question is, I think, how do you manage to stay focused? Good question. Yeah. How do you manage to stay focused?
Okay, it's like this. Like when we were doing ReidXtreme, like we were in a Discord channel. So like we never leave the channel unless like to have lunch or something. So like whenever we are doing a question, like we are in the Discord channel. So like we can't actually do anything besides the question. Like and Devin also like checks up on us like every 10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, like keep
I
track
also
of
recommend this.
your teammates
Yeah,
and yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically in a 24 hackathon, in I think most of the teams, there's a one who wakes all the others in the morning, and there's another one who keeps all up without letting them sleep. Yeah, there are times that you can't keep focusing because the questions gets harder in I can remember that in Ieee in the latter part, the questions get really hard. So we can't keep focused, but keep discussing and try to find a solution together, at least if you can't solve them by your own. And yeah, and most importantly, you won't be able to in the beginning stages, you won't be able to solve problems in the first shot, but by trying few times and putting various approaches, that once you solve that happiness is in the next level. You have to experience that, I think, in the ReidXtreme.
All right. So then we have a question asking, was it fun? I think you answered this too.
Yeah, I think Devin answered that question.
Of course, it was fun.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, like, I guess there's a reason it's called extreme, because it really pushes you. I mean, some of those questions are like mind blowing. Like, so, and even like seeing them and thinking, okay, there are people who can actually solve these questions. And then you get so inspired as well. So it's all fun to see.
Okay, so can we use Google? That's a good question. I think so. It's like this. When you're trying new languages, of course, you have to, you won't be able to know all the syntaxes related to that. We also still use Google to know syntaxes and to know the best approach for that operation. But the thing is, if as far as I know, I'm also haven't participated in a physical hackathon. As far as know, in a hackathon, correct me if I'm wrong. So most of the time, you won't be able to use Google.
All right. So moving on, we have another question. What are the important data structures we should focus on?
Kasun, Isuru, you wanna go?
You go there.
Okay.
Should we say the G word first?
Yeah.
No, it's not like that. As I remember, we didn't implement a single tree or graph in the Ieee, but I'm not saying that it's not required. It's definitely required. If you know those things, then you can go way up in your attempts. Because most of the CP questions, especially medium and hard questions, definitely need your good knowledge in data structures and algorithms. So that knowledge will keep you moving forward. But for a start, you just need to know arrays, and I think maps and maps in C++ and dictionaries in Python will come handy.
Yeah, especially dictionaries.
Yeah, special dictionaries in C++. That Python is also working same as the dictionaries, but for C++. And yeah, definitely get to know about trees and graphs, because after arrays and maps, that's the next most important data structure that you want to know.
And adding to that, like you should like go step by step. Like if I say like the tree is the most important data structure, you can't just jump into tree. You have to go step by step. Like first you have to learn arrays, then so on.
Yeah.
And also adding to that, yeah, Dulaj, give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
If a question requires a tree or a data structure to solve, that you won't realize that by just reading the question. So if you think that getting to know and reading about trees and graphs, how to implement them and how to use them, that won't be much helpful if you don't know how to apply those in a competitive programming question. So when you are learning them, try to find the questions that are categorized under those data structures and try to solve them. Then that will give you a great experience to on how to apply them for a problem. Dulaj.
Yeah, right. Right. So I personally have this weird relationship with this data structure called a graph. So back in first semester, like it scared the hell out of me, like a graph. Like how do you build a graph? How do you code a graph? Like how do you do that? Like so, but like when you get into second semester, like they teach you, right? Then it becomes so simple. Like it's very easy. Like it's 2D array. That's it. But if you do like that. So the thing is like in Extreme, right? So we needed graphs. Like if you would like perform like exceptionally well, like there were questions that needed graphs, right? So we didn't know them, but like participating in Extreme motivated me to like self-learn, right? So go through books, go through different algorithms that were not taught to us, not even second semester. They didn't teach us yet either. So, but I know them because I wanted to like go through them and like code them out, right? And try them out. So it really sparked my interest there. So I think that is also an important data structure, not something that's impossible for you to learn. Even if you're in first year, first semester, it's totally fine. You can still learn it. And we will be teaching it to you as well, like in a workshop. So definitely attend if you are focused on it.
All right. So yeah, we have another question. Are we going to answer this? So how many problems will be there and how many points will they carry in ReidXtreme? Dulajaya?
Yeah, I can say one thing, each question will carry 100 points. That won't change. As to
Like
how many
24 questions, right?
Yeah, let's say
something
24.
like that.
Something like that, yeah. Around that.
100 points each, and the points will tick down as people answer the questions.
Just making a correction in IEEE Extreme, that with the number of people who answered that problem, the amount of points that you will be receiving will be reduced. But in ReidXtreme, commonly in HackerRank platform, it won't happen. There's a fixed point that each question will carry, and by solving, if you got the solution totally correct, then you will be getting full marks. And if your solution is partially correct, with the number of test cases and there are some other factors like the something like the test cases that you have passed, your score will be depend on that, and the leaderboard will be like your total score will sum up, and if you get equal points, then the time that you have taken to solve the problem, the lesser time you taken to solve those all problems, then you will be in the top. And in IEEE Extreme, it's different, that the number of people solve this when more people solve this problem, the amount of points will get reduced. In ReidXtreme, it won't happen.
Yeah, and we will be testing how far you can score as well, because like we said, 500 points get you a certificate, and we have a badge going on for 15,000 points as well. So that's 15, at least like around 15 questions solved, not fully, but total. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's it for the questions. If you have any other questions, you can drop it. Okay. Yeah, I hope that's all. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah. Can we give about a minute?
Yeah, sure.
We'll see. So if you're having any questions, put them in the Jamboard.
And
Awesome.
again, if you want to like learn new stuff, definitely attend the workshops. Like we will teach you from scratch some really cool stuff, dynamic programming and graph theory and stuff like that, which is important to know, like when you are a competitive programmer. Yeah.
Okay,
That's about
I
it, right?
think that's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I think that's all for the questions, and hope we covered all of the questions and you have your answers. So thank you everyone for answering the questions too. Okay, so as we have come to the end of today's launch event, I have one take-home message for all of you. You will never experience personal growth if you fear taking chances. So without leaving space for regrets, take up the chance. For all the enthusiasts, team up and get yourself registered and grab this opportunity to test your skills. So thank you to each and every one of you for joining us today, and best of luck to all the teams. Have a good night and stay safe.